The radio was believed in America. That was a voice from heaven, you see. And I wanted to destroy that as dramatically as possible. And that was the purpose of this sort of huge practical joke, which was much bigger than we expected to be.
Radio broadcasting and its temple, New York City, were as frenzied then as they are now. Just a week before the Martian hoax, the Mercury Players had no script for Halloween. Wells' assistant, Richard Barr, was 21 and worked for nothing. He delivered the first version of the script.
He threw it back at us. He said it was the worst show we had ever done, and he was furious with Houseman and Howard Koch, who had written it.
Orson said, I want it done in first-person singular. I want it done with news bulletin in the first part, and contemporary. It was a process in the works right up to the last minute.
Wells thrived on chaos. The others survived it. John Houseman was his co-producer and fellow hoaxmaster.
That was very largely Orson's method of production, which was that you created a state of total despair and confusion, and then at the very last moment, out of this came a perfect show.
And now, Orson Welles stars in the Mercury Theater on the Air production of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
After the introductions, listeners heard, not actors, but dance music.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From the Meridian Room in the Park Plaza Hotel in New York City, we bring you the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra. With a touch of the Spanish, Raymond Raquello leads off with La Comparsita.
Listening in Chicago was a teenager looking for some background music to accompany homework. Steve Allen.
I just flipped around the dial at random and selected some dance music. All I heard of it first was the dance music, which was quickly interrupted by what appeared to be an authentic news bulletin.
We interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. The Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars.
Listening in Newark, New Jersey, was 11-year-old Gloria Widelock and her family.
Shortly after that, there was an interruption again. And the interruption was that there was something happening in Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles.
People that month were used to bulletins from Prague, Berlin, London. But suddenly, a small farm town in New Jersey took on the same national spotlight.
I turned up the volume, and that attracted my aunt and mother's attention. They said, "What is that?" I said, "Apparently there are spaceships coming towards planet Earth." And he said, "Really?" And I said, "Says that on the news here."
In Grover's Mill and other places, many people missed the announcement that it was only a play. They joined the broadcast in the middle after listening to something else. That happened to the family of Richard Stives.
We were all listening to Charlie McCarthy, and then we got a little bored, I guess. That's what it was. And somebody pushed the button, and that's when we hit the right button. I don't know what the radio station was then, and we heard Grover's Mill. Somebody said, "Leave it there. Wait, leave it there. Let's see what it's all about."
Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific.
He was describing, here, these things are coming out of this machine. You could hear the people telling the crowd to get back and everything, you know. And you know, it's, like I say, you know, it was so frightening. I said, well, how can this happen?
Lord, they're turning the plane. By the wood.
It seems to be a huge ball of fire, and it's picking up speed, and ahead of it there seems to be heat, an intense heat. Things are burning in its path, and then we didn't hear the announcer's voice at all.
The dying announcer was one trick being played back at the CBS studios. Putting on an actor that sounded like FDR was another.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country.
And while we didn't say, this is the President of the United States talking to you, the voice was sufficiently resemblant that the inference was obvious. That was the only, I thought, sort of naughty thing we did that night. Everything else was just good radio.
Here is a bulletin from Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Coon hunters have stumbled on a second cylinder similar to the first, embedded in the Great Swamp 20 miles south of Morristown.
Once they started moving north, heading for Morristown, heading for the Great Swamp, we knew then that the Pulaski Skyway was not far and Newark was next.
Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey. Warning. Poisonous black smoke pouring in from Jersey marshes. Reaches South Street. Gas masks useless. Urge population to move into open spaces. Automobiles use Route 7.
There was mass hysteria, not only in my apartment, but in the whole building. We were going to die, and that was absolutely what we all thought.
Grandpa, like I said, got up, put chairs under the doors. We pulled the shades down. We all sat around the radio.
Quietly, my father got away from the table, and he was wetting towels, and he started to put the towels around the window because the gases would be coming first.
I've never been that scared in my whole life.
And my mother was crying. The neighbors came in to kiss us goodbye and to hug us. My mother tried to make a phone call to her father and her sisters in New York, but she could never get through. The lines were very busy. She just wanted to say goodbye.
A bulletin is handed me. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. One in Chicago.
They said on the show something about there have been sightings over Chicago, and at that we were all over the cage like three canary birds. You know, I was basically cool physically, but my aunt and mother ran up the walls, across the ceiling, out the window, flew around over Clark Street, and came back in the hotel. And they were basically flipped out and panicked. It was not funny at the time. It's only funny now, if indeed now. We had to get out, they thought. I said, where? And they said, we'll go over to Holy Name Cathedral. They thought it would be better to get killed there.
People are holding service here below us in the cathedral. This may be the last broadcast. This is the end now. Smoke comes out, black smoke drifting over the city to reach Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use.
Then we burst into the lobby, which to our great surprise was absolutely calm. People reading, smoking cigars, dozing in the chairs by the potted palms. And something immediately told me that that was inconsistent with the end of the world. There should be a little more excitement when the end of the world comes along, for gosh sake. You know, a few car crashes in the street or something. And then at that moment I noticed that in the radio that was playing in the lobby area, there was another program on. And what little I knew about life, I knew that if there was a big event such as the final days or whatever, it really would not be One Network's exclusive.
By the time of the commercial break, many people weren't listening. They were jamming the roads or the phone lines. The New Jersey State Police were swamped with phone calls that night. Callers hadn't heard the mid-break announcement or Wells sign-off.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen. Out of character, to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. And if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian, it's Halloween.
And it was then, with hell breaking loose all over the country, that Orson went into his rather dubious little joke about, this is our Halloween contribution to the nation, and which was taken in bad part by a good many people at that point.